Okay, it's 4:30.
Thank you.
I'll call the meeting at the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. And I'd ask Dorothy to call roll when she gets through.
I can actually go ahead and call roll for
Okay,
you.
Trent,
If you're going.
thank you.
Mr. Bob Waller,
Here.
Mr. Garrett Harmon, Mr. Don Barnett,
Here.
Mr. Doyle Malone, Mr. Bill Morgan,
Here.
Mr. Michael Siegerman,
Here.
Mr. Rustin Zuber,
Here.
Mr. Glenn Andrew. Thank you. Quorum is present.
Okay, we have a quorum. Number one on the agenda, Visitor Citizens Forum. Any person with business not scheduled on the agenda is encouraged to briefly speak their ideas to the commission. Please fill out the speaker request form, give it to the commission secretary prior to the meeting. The number of speakers will be limited to the first 10 and each speaker to 3 minutes. No formal action can be taken on these items, as the Open Meetings Act requires formal action to be posted on an agenda no later than 72 hours before the meeting. If formal action is required, the items will be placed on an agenda for a future meeting. Item number 2 is the consent agenda. All items listed below in the consent agenda are considered routine or ministerial in nature and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of items unless a commissioner or citizen so requests, in which case the item or items will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Item 2A is the approval of the minutes from the June 2nd, 2016 meeting, which are start on page 2 of your packet. If you've reviewed these, I'll accept a motion. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That passes 5-0. Number 2B is approval of the minutes from the June 16th, 2016 meeting, starting on page 5 of your packet. After you review that, I'll accept a motion. Yeah, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And I have a second. Any additions, modifications? If not, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Item 3 is for public hearings and action. 3A is public hearing and resolution. Public hearing and consideration of resolution concerning a requested conditional use permit for personal services to urgent care facilities with emergency room services, patient care less than 24 hours, and for retail trade, one for an approximate 2.51 acre tract. Trent?
Thank you, Mr. Waller. As previously mentioned, this property is located at 1201, approximately 1205 and 1209 Junction Highway. This is a conditional use permit for personal services 2, urgent care facilities with emergency room services, patient care less than 24 hours, and for retail trade 1 for an approximate 2.51 acre tract. Staff did mail out 8 notices to all property owners within 200 feet. 0 came back in favor, 0 in opposition. I have not received any calls regarding this, regarding any of the notices or regarding this case in general. We did also post this in the newspaper, which is required by state law. As you see here, the property is located across the street from the existing Walmart and also backing up the Guadalupe River, also known as Nimitz Lake in this vicinity. Here's the subject property. It's relatively flat with a slight slope going from north to south of the subject property. There's various grasses and a few trees throughout the property. There's an existing professional office on the property that they are planning on moving once this if this is approved and if once they start developing this land. This is the existing professional office that exists on the subject property. Across the street, you have various retailers such as Discount Tire, Walmart. Next door is Chili's. Next on the other side of the property, there's a funeral home located here. With this property, the requested conditional use permit, staff's found, will have little impact on the surrounding properties. The majority of the surrounding properties have similar uses that generate a considerable amount of traffic. Staff's only concerns are, one, the current alignment of Knapp Road is not conducive to the ingress-egress of the property. Texel has also had that issue, and this issue has been there for many years. And if I can get this to switch. This is looking at Knapp Road, directly onto Walmart, kind of show the path. There's no left turns allowed here. Knapp Road is set just east of the intersection, making this intersection a little more busy, a little more dangerous intersection for someone trying to make a right-hand turn. Once again, left-hand turns are not allowed here. The applicant, and this is looking from the top of Knapp Road down to the Guadalupe River / Nimitz Lake, kind of the path that it takes down the property line, abutting Chili's. The subject property in this image is to your right, Chili's is to the left.
It's this.
Now the applicant has requested, as part of this development process, they have not submitted anything formally yet. Their hopes is to abandon Knapp Road and realign it to meet the intersection right here. So this is as if the intersection was, if Knapp Road was realigned, my back would be to Knapp Road, looking at the intersection of what it would look like from this view. This is where the realignment of Knapp Road would go. It would go right. This is me just turn around right there. It would come in here and curve to the existing Knapp Road to go down to the Guadalupe River, Nimitz Lake. So there would still be access, and it would be controlled access through a traffic light. It's a little more secure. Oh, can you bring that back up, please? Our other concern is portions of the property are located in the floodplain and the floodway. The applicant has proposed, as I said, has proposed the realignment of Knapp Road to ensure safety and better traffic mitigation for the existing intersection. The applicant is engineering the property in order to comply with all FEMA, state, and local regulations pertaining to the development of a lot in the floodplain and floodway. Through proper planning and mitigation, staff does feel that the existing concerns can be resolved, resulting in minimal impact to the surrounding area. As part of the development process, they will still be required to submit a development site plan, a set of civils, and submit all applications which are required to, if they make any changes to the floodplain or floodway. I also do have the city engineer here, as well as the engineer representing the property. If you do have any questions regarding those issues. The site plan that you have today in front of you is an updated site plan showing this is a concept plan. Generally, the concept plans for conditional use permits don't have the detail a set of civil plans would, or the development site plan would in the development process. The concept plan is supposed to give you an idea of what will be on the property and where generally it will be located with the size of structures and parking, etc. In the development process, there will be more details hammered out that they will need to address with permitting. The existing GR zoning district and proposed conditional use is consistent with the surrounding area. The area has been established as a commercial mixed-use corridor. Uses in the area, as I mentioned, range in intensity from small professional office to large retail center. The proposed conditional use could have a potential of increasing traffic. However, the applicant is proposing the realignment of Knapp Road that will increase safety at the intersection and mitigate traffic congestion in the area. The surrounding area will be impacted minimally due to proposed uses. Future growth or alterations to the site beyond the submitted site plan will require the property owner to amend a conditional use permit through a public hearing process before the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. Staff does recommend approval with the conditions that all lighting shall be designed and installed to prevent glare or light from being emitted onto adjacent properties. And once again, anything doing with floodplain or floodway is part of the development process where they will have to address those issues and fix those issues if there are any. So that's all I have for you today.
Okay, this requires a public hearing.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that. This does require a public hearing.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing at 4:40. Anybody wishing to speak to this forum, please step to the podium. Give us your name and address, please. Seeing no response, I'll close this here public hearing at 4:41. I have a couple of questions myself. Now, when you say you're going to realign Knapp Road, that's going to be, you're going to do away with the existing Knapp Road, or are you only going to realign the very top portion?
Right. So when you realign a road here with the City of Kerrville, how our code of ordinances are written, they will be required to go before City Council with this request. It will have to be approved by City Council to abandon the existing right-of-way and basically either through plat or through a separate instrument re-record the alignment. What they want to do, and maybe the engineer can better address this, is it's going to be the top portion where it goes into the right-of-way right now. And it will kind of, let me go back to that image, I apologize. Sorry, just 1 second.
So it's going to take like a 45-degree angle from the existing Knapp Road up to Junction Highway.
Right, which will still be required to meet all fire code, the radiuses that the fire trucks will have to meet. It will still be required. It will be a right of way, a public right of way. It's this portion that are going to be moving basically to the left in this image.
My other question is, how's that going to affect traffic flow at that intersection that doesn't have anything coming from that side at this point?
I'm not a traffic engineer by any means. I know TxDOT has actually had this on their plate for many years now, wanting the realignment of Knapp Road
Okay.
due to these instances. So they are actually, it sounds like they've been very involved, but that might be more of a question for the engineer that's here today to answer that question. But it sounds like TxDOT's been pretty proactive about the Knapp Road realignment.
Well, you can look at the
Right.
spaces there. The amount of traffic that's going to come into that is going to be fairly limited, just by the parking that's available.
Right. And if you look at the site plan that I submitted, you can see where the realignment of Knapp Road will be. It's to the left. You'll see the gray shaded area is existing Knapp Road, and then to the left of it, you'll see the 40-foot width. You'll see the new alignment of Knapp Road, how it kind of comes down and curves towards the existing Knapp Road.
Would it not have to have a left turn lane now going out of here to turn left?
It looks like
as well as a left turn lane to come in.
It looks like they're showing a left turn lane
Okay.
to leave, but that once again will be up to TxDOT what they allow them to do. That's outside of the cities.
And Knapp Road is bad shape. It's going to need to be resurfaced and
Right.
rebuilt probably. Do we know anything about what type of retail is going in the back?
I would leave that to the applicant to answer that question. From what I've heard, as of right now, they are requesting retail, but they don't. It sounds like they don't have anyone lined up at this point in time.
So these will be future pads, not built maybe initially.
Right, which will be required to follow the site plan, the square footage. If they wish to expand the square footage, they'll be required to come back through an amendment process.
What's the difference in the flood zone? And I know the floodway is probably more active during flood periods, but the flood zone, I see it goes up all the way up into the emergency room. What's in that difference in those spaces?
I'd love to answer you that question. I'm going to reference our city engineer, who might be able to answer them a little more accurate than I would be able to.
The floodplain is your 100-year or 1%. It's a much higher elevation, and so what they're going to have to do with part of this, I'm trying to see where the flood. You also have a flood easement in this
Yeah,
property.
it says flood zone runs all the way up into the middle of the emergency center.
Okay, it's the zone A. Yes, and so that's the floodplain that they will have to build 1 foot above the elevation of that. And so with Mr. Hewitt as a design engineer, he's also the county floodplain administrator, so it's a little bit easier process working with somebody like that because he understands what's needed. If we don't have any impact, yeah, that's really the biggest thing that we look at is, you know, if you bring fill into an area to bring the pads above the elevation, you know, then you just have to do a hydraulic study to provide that because you are within the zone. Anything out of the zone is really irrelevant as far as FEMA is concerned. It's when we get within that zone that we have to meet the requirements.
Okay.
Is
Makes
that
sense.
going to require FEMA approval for changing the floodplain, and we got to have a cloma?
It's all based on the hydraulic study. You do not, a clomer is not required if we do not have an adverse impact. With that being said, every clomer, LOMA, all items that have been issued to FEMA all have to be addressed so that, including this property, with all of the other previously submitted, we do not have a 1 foot impact or greater than 1 foot impact on the entire city at any point. And so that's something that has to be taken into account with the hydraulic study. And it's not a necessity.
This will require a hydraulic study?
Yes, it's not a necessity to issue a clomer as long as the hydraulic study states, and it has to be signed and sealed by an engineer, which in this case will be Mr. Hewitt. And so basically it's his liability as the engineer to correctly perform the calculations for that study. But a clomer is not required. We can ask them if they would like to submit one. Once you go through the process, it's not required though. FEMA doesn't have any regulations as long as there is no impact.
So, John, you're saying you could modify the flood zone through this study?
One thing I'll add is that the floodway and the floodplain have different criteria that we have to satisfy depending on if we developed in either one. The floodway is defined by FEMA as being the deeper, faster flowing water, and they try to discourage development within the floodway, so they have stricter criteria if you go into the floodway. At this point, we don't know. It'll depend on the results of the hydraulic study if we go into the floodway or the floodplain. We will extend into the floodplain, and if we did that, we expect that we would do a Clomar-F, which is a Clomar with fill provided, which is different and less stringent than a Clomar, and so that's what we would do. But we would do a hydraulic analysis
First.
confirming, first deciding what we'd have to do.
Do you have an estimate of how much you need to raise that elevation?
Yeah,
On a major building?
it depends how far back we go. If the site plan that you're looking at, if we put those 2 retail areas back there, we might have to put a retaining wall and go up 4 feet, so it might look kind of like Fuddruckers does if
Okay.
we were back in there. And there's quite a few that have done it that way. I think Starbucks and
And
AT&T
Chili's has
did
that
it
too,
that
doesn't
way
it?
too.
Chili's has that too, doesn't it?
Yeah, they do.
That whole corridor has very similar.
Will these properties be built at the same elevation as the neighboring properties of the funeral?
Yeah, because they're all built to that standard, which is 1 foot above the base flood
So
elevation.
there's no adverse drainage effects for the 2 neighbors on either side when you put all this concrete in, you raise it up?
Right,
No,
and
we-
that's what the study does. It ensures that there is no impact on any property, not just the neighbors adjacent, but anybody within the city, whether it be backing up the river or a creek or anything like that. So that's what that
Yeah,
ensures.
because there's an increased impervious cover here, so it's going to. That's what your study is going to show, how much is going to be generated by that.
Correct. And that's a different situation with the increase in impervious cover. Sometimes that increases runoff, and that's when the detention comes into play.
And I see you have a place for detention down here.
The
Looks like.
bioswale flood, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and because this is adjacent to Nimitz Lake, we've asked Mr. Hewitt to have a filtration system, which he has done with a bioswale area.
I see that.
And so that will ensure all runoff of the site goes into that area.
Good.
Just out of curiosity, it says Physicians Premier ER. Is that a name of a corporation?
hmm
Oh,
And
okay.
these gentlemen here represent that.
All right. Well, where are you out of? Corpus Christi, okay.
Is this a urgent care facility or a true emergency care facility?
It's a 24-hour emergency room?
It's going to be manned by emergency physicians.
Yes, that's right.
John, one of the things that I don't like on here, right off, is you got 5 parking spaces that back out right into the main traffic way on that 45-degree angle. Is that required for this building size?
The intent is for Mr. Evans, Doug Evans has his real estate building on the property right now. He would like to, once the existing Knapp Road right-of-way is abandoned, he would like to put his building on that property and replat it onto that. And so those 5 parking spots across the way would be for Mr. Evans' property over there. Or potentially, that's what we're looking at.
No.
Well, I'm talking about the ones that are adjacent to the primary parking for this emergency center.
Mm-hmm.
They're right next to
That's
it.
the ones you're talking about.
The
No,
retail.
that's different. You're right. Those
Yeah.
those would be for the
And they
the
back
building
out
itself.
straight into that traffic way. I know we got too much of that already in Kerrville.
Yeah.
He's gonna move his office to be in the same, area?
He would like to. He'd like to keep his office in that area east of the proposed realigned Knapp Road.
That little corner that's.
It's abandoned.
But that's a different. I think that would be a different hearing. Correct.
I don't think he
Trent?
can meet parking requirements, could he, Trent?
Say that
I
again,
don't
sir.
think that would meet parking requirements for that little.
It depends on how it's platted. If it's platted as one lot and they go ahead and dedicate the right of way, it could be platted as one lot. If they do decide to plat it as separate lots, if they can't meet parking on this site, there's various things that they can do, either a parking variance or they can get an irrevocable agreement between them and another property owner in order to meet parking requirements.
That will satisfy, there's enough space there to satisfy setback too?
That'll
all
be done.
sides?
They will have to meet setbacks. Once again, that building's not being shown on here. I have not seen the plat, or if that will work. I have let them know about the setback requirements. So during the development process, replatting, these will all be things that they will need to be made, that they will need to worry about. Which we've already relayed that to the applicant about possible setback issues with that potential office being there.
I don't know what's any of my business or our business or not. Is the sale of this or is this all contingent on his office fitting in that spot?
Part of the zoning process, we never, we don't ask these types of questions because it's outside the realm of zoning
Well,
procedure.
agreed.
So I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah,
That would be a
okay.
question for the applicant.
What about those 5 spaces? Are they required?
Right now, we exceed the required parking by 4 spaces. So we could eliminate those 5 and we'd have to find one additional spot somewhere on the property. Again, this is a concept plan as opposed
Okay.
to a development site plan too, so.
Okay.
So the only ingress and egress for all these site pads and buildings and everything is where the new Knapp Road entrance is? So that's the only way in and out for everything? I'm looking at the emergency center has an ambulance drop-off behind. So as an emergency care center, you expect to have ambulances going in and out of here?
Yes, we do.
One lane in, one lane out
Yes.
for all this retail and then your emergency center, the ambulances coming in and out? Is that sufficient?
Yes, we've had the 4 sites we have right now that are working and operational. We do have a site in Corpus Christi off of Ennis Johnson Road that has 1 in and out for the ambulance. And it neighbors a Whataburger and a CVS pharmacy. And it doesn't, one thing is it's at the 24-hour ER centers, the kind of ambulance traffic that you see going in and out isn't quite like you're going to see with a
Right.
hospital. On a busy week, you may have 3 ambulances in and out of that ER center.
the facilities that you have down in Corpus Christi, do you have a traffic count on the traffic that comes in and out of on a daily basis? Just for the emergency care center?
Number of patients that we see a day?
Number of people that come in or cars that come in and out on a daily basis?
Probably estimate traffic, you get 15 cars in and out of a facility per day, per 24-hour period. And most of the bulk of that traffic is usually seen after 5, between 5 and midnight. Oftentimes that's when you see most of your people getting off work, needing to go in to be seen. So it doesn't quite follow your typical traffic patterns, like in and out of Walmart or in and out of retail spaces, nice restaurants, coffee centers, things like that. So it does time off a little bit from that high flow traffic time.
You, Trent,
Yes, sir.
depending on what these retail sites would be, is that gonna vary the requirement for parking?
No, according to Retail Trade 1 has its own classification of how many parking spaces are required per square foot. And so when they're creating this concept plan, they came into us, asked us some questions, and we let them know how many parking spaces they would need based off the square footage they've provided on this concept plan.
Okay.
So they reduce the square footage of the building,
Would
get
be
less parking.
right, yes,
It's all directly related.
right.
Trent, we had someone come in after the public hearing and sign up, I think, to speak. Can they speak at this point?
That's up to you, sir. That would be as the chairman, you would have that option to go and reopen
Was
the
that
public
your-
hearing if you'd like.
Is that your preference?
Actually, I didn't sign up to speak, I just said.
Just
all
signed up?
visitors sign in, so
Okay,
I'm trying to comply. I guess I'm the only visitor because I'm the only one on the list.
okay.
If you want to speak, though, he says you can.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments?
But we're only dealing with the conditional use permit.
That's exactly.
At this time, yes, sir.
I guess my only other comment, like, I'm assuming that the realignment of Knapp Road has no impact or effect on the Chili's, which is adjacent to it, is the only business there that's adjacent to it. And I'm assuming they know, you send notices out, they are aware of the fact that there's a realignment of Knapp Road in this process?
Nothing's been submitted for the realignment of Knapp Road as of yet. So we can't send out notices because there's nothing to notify of. They had to do the conditional use permit first before they even went through the whole process of going through the public hearings to realign Knapp Road. But if this were approved, and if they decide to move forward with this project, they decide to go ahead and realign Knapp Road, it will be required to notify, according to state law, for the realignment of Knapp Road, the abandonment, rededication of the road. So they will be notified, and they were notified of this conditional use permit.
Now
request
is
as well.
Knapp Road gonna go all the way to the river?
Yeah, that
The new alignment?
right. The portion's not changing that at all. We still want access. The city still.
Is there a launch ramp down there?
Yes.
I believe so. Yes.
Yes.
There's also a lift station and electrical something other down there too.
My engineer confirms that. Yeah. About the lift station.
So all we're asked to do is approve the conditional use permit
Yes, sir. At this
as
point in time.
presented,
As presented. Yes, sir.
not subject to it. And we approve it subject to the
Right.
alignment being approved.
It's you either approve or deny it. I brought up the Knapp Road for your information and to let you know what they hope to plan on doing. If the realignment of Knapp Road is not approved, I'm sure it might change their plans in the future for the site. But that's something I thought would be beneficial for your knowledge in this process of what their plans are including.
Well, I took the liberty of visiting with Mike Boyd because I was concerned about that very issue. He's with TxDOT.
Right.
And he says that they are looking at doing that. I mean, he wasn't really crazy about that 45 turn, but he said he wants that corner
Right.
realigned, so.
He's definitely does. He's let me know about that multiple times as well.
So this is not putting the chicken before the egg.
No.
Any other comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the conditional use as presented.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Yeah, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Same sign. Passes 5-0. Okay, staff reports.
We don't have anything at this time.
No scheduled meeting next 2 weeks?
Not at this time. We don't have anything submitted for the next week's, but you never know what's going to come through the door tomorrow. So
True.
I wouldn't be surprised to see you in 2 weeks.
Okay, if there's no other business, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second? We're adjourned. Thank you.